we envisaged, some of our artists performing at the Grammy, some of our artists winning the Grammy. Although at that time it was unimaginable for Nigerians. Well, Grammys, Grammys is for Americans. No, if you do something well enough, the world will find you. If you can imagine it, you can feel it, you can receive it. And that's what um, the law of attraction teaches, that anything you want in life, you can manifest and it will show up in your life. It might not show up immediately, but if you put enough energy into it and you thoroughly believe in it and you clear your path of all obstacles, it will show up in your life.
Welcome to Tune Into Media. I'm Erin Skipper, and I am so beyond excited to introduce the next guest in my Spotlight series, Mr. Dayo D1 Adeneye. Better known as D1, D1 is one of the founding pioneers of the modern-day Afrobeats genre that has taken the world by storm in the past few years. And it's quite safe to say that a lot of the artists from Nigeria that are thriving right now owe some credit to the work that both D1 and his longtime friend and business partner, Kenny Ogungbe, have done. Kenny and D1 hosted the popular AIT Jamz and then PrimeTime Africa, becoming the prominent influencers of their time in the late 90s. Kenny currently owns 104.1 in Lagos and also Kennis Music, a record label that formed in 1998 and represented many significant artists of the time, including Two-Face, Tetuila, Sultan, Baba D, Eedris Abdulkareem, just to name a few. In this interview series, Dayo shares a really fun story about how they first met the Remedies. And both Kenny and Dayo own PrimeTime Entertainment, and Dayo also runs and owns Sierra Communications and DC Bar and Suites, so he's in the hospitality industry. Dayo has been honored and recognized for his contributions to the Nigerian music industry by the Afrobeats Hall of Fame, and was recently featured in the Netflix docuseries Afrobeats: The Backstory by Ayo. This is actually where I was first introduced to D1, and as soon as you came onto the screen, Dayo, I just was overcome with a wave of peace. Your presence was really powerful, and again, wow. I'm so grateful because I just immediately, without even thinking about it, reached out to you, and I wanted to talk with you right away. So I'm very grateful that you were receptive, just because I'm really passionate about Afrobeats, and by the time that I do share this interview, I will have just featured the first wave of Afro artists that I'm going to be sharing at Tune Into Media. Again, I'm grateful and honored and humbled that you agreed to talk with me.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
And very much mine too. This must be so rewarding for you to see. 2023, there were so many firsts and big milestones for Afrobeats, with Burna Boy selling out 80,000 plus, stadiums, and Rema winning the first Afrobeats MTV VMA award. There's a lot of recognition for artists and the success and talent that is coming out of Nigeria. And I'm curious, for you, having been there and really been very instrumental in this rise, what have been some of the landmarks for you that have been like, it's really happening?
No, let me quickly correct that. Rema wasn't the first to win the first Afrobeats awards for MTV. As a matter of fact, it was Two-Face Idibia. I believe that was in 2006 or 7, thereabouts. And it was in Portugal, actually. So, yeah, some have come before these artists that you're enjoying now. Some have paved the way. Some are retired. Some have been long forgotten, but some of them are still very vibrant. Two-Face Idibia comes to mind. He's one of those who we call, the godfathers of what you now call Afrobeat. So, but back to your question, Kenny and I always envisage Africa, Nigeria playing a big role in music across the world. Having lived in Hollywood when we were here, having gone to school in California and the United States and lived here for the better part of 20-something, 30 years. So we were surrounded by entertainment. And we saw what obtained, and we said, wait a minute, if we can go back home and, implement some of the things we've learned here, we can help move our country forward in terms of broadcasting, radio, TV, production, and maybe even music. And that was what encouraged us to go back home and say, look, let's see what we can do. You can't beat the Americans at their game. So let's go support our own. Let's go embrace our own culture and build our own thing. And that's what led us into music at that time. As at the time when we moved back to Nigeria, there was no such thing as 24-hour radio. Radio stations closed about 8 p.m.
The party
TV
hasn't even gotten
stations,
started yet.
TV stations closed about maybe 9, 10 p.m. So there was no such thing, but we were the first to pioneer 24-hour radio and television broadcasting. And from there, we delved into music. So I'm very, very elated. I'm very ecstatic whenever I see artists like Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid, spreading the message that we've always taught, sing about your own people, sing about your own culture. Don't bother rapping about the ghetto. Don't try to rap like the Americans. You can't beat them at their game. So do your own thing, sing about our culture, our food, our music, our language. The world will embrace it. And I'm happy that I'm alive to witness it.
What do you think the next 2 or 3 years for Afrobeats? Like, how do you see it going?
The sky's the limit, to be honest with you. If you look at music over the decades, everything goes around in circles. I mean, there's nothing new, really. Whatever Burna Boy and Davido are doing today, it's nothing new. If you listen to music from the 50s, 60s, James Brown, like you said earlier, everything is just in circles, just being done by a new set of people. Fela did it in bringing Nigeria through jazz and high life, bringing attention of the world. I think Sunny Ade also did it. So now it's the turn of the next generation, which is, the Thames and the ones that you're listening to now. I think the sky's the limit. I want to tell you, and I want to tell the world, keep your eyes on Rima. They say artists like Michael Jackson only come once in a millennia, but I think this boy is going to be probably the next Michael Jackson. And you say I told you so in 5 years' time. I think he's the one to
felt
watch.
the exact same way. The moment I heard, I'd heard other songs of his, but as soon as I heard Calm Down, it was like, a year and a half ago. It totally transfixed me, and to see the popularity that song has gained worldwide in just a year, it's phenomenal, because that, for a lot of people, that is their only association with Afrobeats or knowledge of Afrobeats.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's the one to watch, if you ask me.
I don't know if you listen to any of the artists that I'm featuring on Tune Into You Media, but sometimes even today, I was like, why am I doing this? And then I listen to them and it's just like, oh yeah.
This is why.
This is why. Every time I hear it, it's so uplifting.
That's just it. You're adding value and you're doing something you're passionate about. And that's what it's all about. You go into something not expecting anything in return. It's just because of the love and the passion you have for it. And you're sowing seeds that hopefully will germinate and grow. And that's what makes the world progress. That's what pushes the world forward. You're doing something for Afrobeats that, even most Africans are not thinking of. Anyone who at this stage who's going into Afrobeats is probably going into it to cash out. Oh, it's the wave. Let me jump on board the train and see if I can find some talents I can, make money out of. You at that stage where we were 20 years ago. We were in it just for the fun of it. We're just two young boys from California. We were just doing it for the fun of it. Hey, let's promote Nigerian music. Let's promote whatever is ours. We got tired of playing Tupac Shakur and playing Michael Jackson every day on radio. Let's find some local boys and let's find some local talent. We have a country of 250 million people. There are some talents here, some homegrown talents, and that's what started it for us. We didn't think it would end up with a music label or radio station or TV channel. But like you say, when you build a better mousetrap, the world will find its way to your doorstep. And that's exactly what happened. The world started to pay attention that, wait a minute, something is cooking in Nigeria, something is cooking in Africa. And before that, we used to go out to South Africa, we used to go to Ghana to do our videos and, to promote. But now everybody comes to us. people from South Africa, from Ghana, from Egypt, even from the United States. Everybody now looks for Nigerians to do collab. And so this is just to let you know that you're on the right track. You're doing something you're passionate about, and that's really what matters.
Well, Afrobeats has been really healing for me after a lot of grief and trauma. I had a lot of African students in the town where I was living come spend time at my house and party and dance every weekend. And that was my introduction to it about 2.5 years ago. And it became my whole life. And I've been fully obsessed ever since. You're right, like it hasn't brought me a penny yet, but even Quinn and Valdozi, some of the artists that I am showcasing here, and they're like, so why do you want to do this? What's in it for you? I'm like, it's just that love. And that's a really precious thing. Life is really short. You do talk so much about passion in all your talks and how you didn't see overnight success, but you just kept going. Was there ever a time that you just questioned and wanted to give up or walk away?
Not really. I would tell you an instance. There was a point in my life when I was dead broke. I mean, after I left my employer at the time, which was Ray Power and Dark Communications, and I was dead broke. I was unemployed for like 3 months. I was just sitting at home sleeping and nothing to do. So at the point, I just felt, and I spoke to my partner then, Kenny. I said, look, I think it's time for us to. We've done our bit. I think it's time for us to pack our bags and head back to America, and go pick up where we left. So that was the only point in my life because I needed to feed. I needed to be able to take care of my needs. And I just never saw myself working in an office. I always knew from a young age I wasn't going to do a 9 to 5 job. So that was the only point in my life where I felt like, and it wasn't like giving up to say, I wouldn't say giving up, but I realized there was a need to put food on the table. I mean, and so the only next best thing to do was head back to America and. But as we would have it, luck smiled upon us. So someone who we had done a favor for called and offered a lifeline, and the rest, they say is history. So, but I would never have dumped entertainment or music because it's in me. It's something I love doing. So even if I had left Nigeria and came back to the United States, I would have found a way to always be in it. Wherever I am, just like you're in Portugal, you're still doing what you love doing. So there was never a moment that I felt like giving up and, because even when we started it, we were broke. It wasn't like we were making a ton of money. So, but it's just something that I would wake up to do, whether you wake me up at night or you wake me up early in the morning. It was just something I love to do. So I would never have given it up.
Yeah. What was it originally that developed that love for music for you?
I wouldn't say it was music per se. I think it was just, I loved entertainment. I love radio, TV, anything that brings happiness or smiles to people's faces or something that gives people joy. I love to entertain. I love to make people smile in whatever form, whether it's in my radio broadcast. I love to do things that lighten the mood for people. The world is a sad enough place already, and I don't want to be an addition to that. Some people, you watch their posts, everything is about whatever is negative with the world. And I feel life is just too short to keep dwelling on the sad aspects of life. So I tend to gravitate towards positive-minded people, people who see the glass as half full, not half empty. So I'm an optimist, and that's the way I live my life. I believe tomorrow is going to be a better day. The day after will be even better. And come what may, I'll keep smiling as long as I'm alive. There's a heart beating in me. I'll keep doing things that make me happy, make my family happy, make my community happy. And the world will feel my presence that, oh, this guy was around. And that's just what life is about. So when you're gone, people will miss you and say, oh, yeah, he one did 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if he was around, he would have done 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's just what we continue to impress upon this new generation. Find something the world will remember you for.
You've been very proactive in politics and, trying to make a positive impact in the world, in Nigeria and the world as a whole. And I think it's really important everywhere. You know, you really inspire a lot of youth to get involved in politics and to make positive changes in their environment and in their government. What really motivated you to get into that and to inspire other people to get involved in politics?
You hit the nail on the head. I for one, I refuse to be an armchair quarterback. You know, most people like to sit at home in the comfort of their houses and complain about everything. Oh, this is bad. Especially Nigerians, we love to complain. Oh, the roads are bad. The government is bad. This is not happening. This should. So I refuse to be one of those people. Sitting, you know, my father used to say, if you can't beat them, join them. You can make a difference from the inside rather than, you know, being on the wall, on the outside looking in. And the thing in Nigeria and most of African countries is people are afraid to go into politics. They believe politics is for dishonest people, people who are unscrupulous. But we forget that the decisions those politicians make have effects on our lives. So if you leave politics to the people who are disingenuous, and they will continue to make decisions which benefit them, not you. So my thing was, look, and I realized that I'm a role model, at least for some people. And whatever we say and whatever we do has impact on the lives of others. And young people look up and aspire to be like us. So it's not just enough to, you know, having arrived, live the good life, drive the fancy cars and wear the fancy clothes. You also have to point the next generation in the right way. And the way to do that is to lead by example. And going into politics was the one way to do that and say, look, guys, you know, if I can do it, you can as well. This is the way to go. This is the way to make changes. Be part of the process. My father would always say, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So if you just sit at home and you make complaints, nothing is going to ever change unless you go out, participate, vote, be in the process, make yourself available to serve. You can't make change. The people that are there will continue to make decisions that benefit them as politicians. So that's what led me into politics, to say, look, you know, let's see what changes we can make by participating in the process. And in so doing, we can encourage the next generation to say, oh, if D1 can do it, then that means politics must be okay. Then I can as well do it. And we've seen changes. I mean, after I ran for office, there have been like maybe 10, 15 entertainers that went into politics. One is running for House of Reps right now, Banky W. About 2 or 3 have won seats in the House of Rep. So I'm very, very elated. And that's just what life is about. Even if you don't get to the promised line, you can point others in the direction and encourage them and say, look, follow me. This is the way to go. And I'm happy and I have no regrets being in politics.
Other than inspiring others to maybe follow in your footsteps, was there anything that you felt that you were a part of a positive change when you were in office or serving as commissioner?
Well, I mean, the party that I joined was a very progressive party. And I'm very proud that having served as Information and Strategy Commissioner, we moved Ogun State forward. I mean, Ogun State was #2 state out of 36 states in Nigeria during my time in office. And that's a record that I'm very proud of till today. I mean, we came from, I believe, number 34 or 32nd on the list to #2 while we were in government. And after we left government, the state has regressed back again to number 34. So I feel like I contributed positively while I was in government. So that makes me feel happy that I made a difference.
What are the current projects that you have, PrimeTime Entertainment and Sierra Communications, that you're running? What do those organizations do?
PrimeTime Entertainment runs, we produce markets for multinationals like MTN, telecoms companies like Globalcom, Airtel, Nigerian breweries, you know, the largest breweries in Nigeria, IDNL, and just a lot of big companies we will produce for, we market for them. That's what Primetime does. We also do radio and TV programs, which we create for not just for ourselves, for other brands. Sierra Communications is also along the same lines, but more into production. while my hospitality business, I'm into real estate and hospitality, which is DC Bar and Suites. It's one of the largest lounges and hotels in Lagos mainland. So it's one of the lessons that we also need to teach our young ones that yes, when you do arrive, you make a success of yourself, diversify. They say no matter how good a dancer you are, you can't dance forever. You might be number one today, but somebody's, you become a target. Somebody wants to be the next Burna Boy. Some young kid wants to be the next Whiskey. So you're not going to be number one forever. So while you're there, make the most out of it, make good investments, diversify your portfolio so that when you're no longer on top, you can continue to put food on your table and live a comfortable life. That's it for me. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the market is so different because there is so much more competition. There are a lot more people striving, really striving to become popular musicians, I would imagine, in Nigeria now than 20, 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. But the more the merrier. It just shows that it's a success. I mean, look at what Afrobeats it means to the world now. Artists from Korea, South Africa, Americans are now playing Afrobeats. Everybody now wants to do Afrobeats because that's what obtains around the world. If you want your music to travel far and wide. So yeah, there's a lot more competition because the world is now aware. The sleeping giant, which is Nigeria, is now awake, and our culture, movies, our music, is out there, and everybody wants a part of it, and it's a delight. So the more the merrier. I mean, there's 7 billion people on this earth, and I don't think we've reached 2 or 3 billion yet. So we still, I mean, I don't think Afrobeat is big in China yet. I know it's big in India. So we still have some ways to go. So the more that come on board, the better.
You haven't fully reached world domination yet, but
not yet, not yet, not yet. But I mean, look, I give this example all the time. Look at reggae. Reggae, Jamaica is a country of what, 2, 3 million people, and reggae is played from Australia to Egypt, from Muslim to Christian countries to everybody plays reggae. So, and I don't think Afrobeats has gotten to that level yet. We are a country of 250 million people. So if Jamaica, a country of 3 million, can sell reggae to the world, I don't see why Afrobeats can be felt the world over.
Yeah, well, it's happening. It's happening. I wanted to ask you some spiritual questions because in one of your interviews you were talking about with SNC podcast, you mentioned that the book The Secret was one of your favorite books at the time. And actually, when that book and when the movie came out, I was working for quantum physicist John Hagelin, who was featured in the movie. And so I'm a little bit familiar with the principles, but for you, like, what are there specific tools or meditation or prayer or visualization that help you to manifest?
I totally believe in the law of attraction, and I repeat a few mantras to myself as soon as I wake up. I say them throughout the day and before I go to bed. I believe it's not enough to just say you're a good person or try to be a good person. You have to manifest certain things in your life. You have to see it, feel it, imagine it, and receive it. For every goal you have in life, you have to imagine. And the law of attraction teaches us that everything in the universe is already created. It's just for you to go out and get it. It's already created. The universe is complete. So if you can imagine it, it's already in creation. You just have to magnetize it and draw it to you. So when some of these questions you ask, when you asked about Afrobeat, yes, we envisaged it, and now when I think of it, I can cross the T and dot the I's and say, yeah, this is what we manifested. We envisaged, some of our artists performing at the Grammy, some of our artists winning the Grammy. Although at that time it was unimaginable for Nigerians. Well, Grammys, Grammys is for Americans. No, if you do something well enough, the world will find you. If you can imagine it, You can feel it, you can receive it. And that's what the law of attraction teaches, that anything you want in life, you can manifest and it will show up in your life. It might not show up immediately, but if you put enough energy into it and you thoroughly believe in it and you clear your path of all obstacles, it will show up in your life.
Yeah, I've had this experience too. And sometimes I wonder, like, is it because I'm envisioning it that I'm making it happening, or am I just getting a vision that's already like nature, God, whatever you want to call it, is already planning it, and I'm just getting the memo? Like, I've heard Prince would, if he had a song come to him, he would immediately want to record it and write it down, because if he didn't, then Michael Jackson would get it. It's like there's things that are already in the works, and we just tap into it. And those of us that are lucky to listen or hear it or see it.
You ever been thinking of someone and someone just crossed your mind and you're thinking of them and then they call you? I mean, that's just it. Just like you said earlier, you were thinking of how to move this Afrobeat project you're doing, you're thinking of, and something just, I mean, it's your vibration, the vibration you're sending out to the universe. It's bouncing around, and that's what led us to each other, because we're on the same frequency. And once you're on the same frequency, with your thoughts align, you're going to find that person. And I normally, I'll tell you this, I haven't done interviews in probably 3-4 years. So that podcast was the first interview that I've done in probably 4 or 5 years. And there was a reason I did it. I know it's a very controversial podcast, but the universe just led me to them and said, look, as a matter of fact, I called them and I said, look, I'm a big fan and I'd like to feature. And from there, it's been, so, when you believe in the law of attraction and you send out, that energy, those on the right frequency will locate it. And those that need to speak with you, or that you need to speak with, or you need to work with, you'll find each other. And that's what it's about.
Well, I mean, I had literally just prayed like 2 or 3 days before I saw the first interview with you, because I've been working on this series for up and coming Afrobeats artists, and it's like there's just so many unknowns. I've worked with a lot of musicians in Los Angeles and Hollywood, but quite frankly, Nigeria is like it's like another universe, American especially. And so there's so much that I've just been trying to like wrap my head around. And I know a lot of people in Hollywood. I lived and worked there for 10 years, but I don't really know the Nigerian industry at all. And it really, even how I met the artist that I'm working with was also a very spiritual experience. Like, I'd been having these visions for about a good year, and somehow that I would be working with a team of Nigerian artists and even involved in like documenting the whole, they're coming up. And it, I was like, well, that's interesting. I mean, I do love Afrobeats, so this would be really fun. But just how it all came together, I mean, there's a whole, story to that that's really beautiful. But yeah, I agree. Like, we just, we somehow call in just the right people at the right time. So, again, thank you. And I'm curious, like, for you, your intuition and instinct, how much that has played a role in your success and working with artists and navigating the business and, quite frankly, revolutionizing an industry, really bringing it to the forefront. It wasn't like there was a formula laid out for you.
No. When we got into the business, like I was telling you, I mean, there was no 24-hour radio station. There was no 24-hour TV station. We were the pioneers of that. As a matter of fact, there were no private radio or TV stations. Everything was government owned. And the government gave you scripts as to what you can read in the news, what kind of music you can play, how long you could open, what commentaries you could. So everything was regimented. So there was no, playbook for us. There was nothing. So when we came in and said, look, we're doing 24-hour radio stations, everybody, these American boys, they're going to come here with their crap. But eventually, they started to buy in. And when they saw, wait a minute, there's some students in universities that are up reading at night that want to listen to music. And we would have this late night calling shows, and people who are awake or working would call in and say, "Oh, your radio program is helping me stay awake on the job." And so they began to see, "Oh, wait a minute, there is a niche, there's a place for this. There's some people out there that really do enjoy, radio after midnight, or TV who want to watch TV after midnight." Same thing with the music. When we got into music, we were just trying to, just like you, we were just trying to help a couple of young boys who we saw at a talent show, and they did a wonderful performance. They were university
Is
students.
that the Remedies or someone else?
The Remedies, yeah,
Okay.
the Remedies. It was at the talent show. And we said, "Wow, these boys are talented." And after the show, we were about to leave. We had no business with, you know, with talent. So we were about to go. And these three guys came up. Well, actually, two of them came up and said, "Oh, guys, we know you guys on radio and TV. Can you promote us?" I said, "Well, if you have a record, yeah, we can bring you by the studios and we'll see what we can do for you." But they didn't have a record. They didn't have anything done. They were just students. And actually, one of them was actually homeless. He was sleeping on the streets at that time. He later told us. So, but their persistence, they kept coming to the radio station and kept, disturbing. I said, "Guys, we have talent. We want to sing." And yeah, I know you want to sing, but what do you want me to do? I'm just a radio presenter. I don't have a studio. But one thing led to the other, and we smuggled them into one of our studios, and we recorded one of their first songs, which was Shakomo, and put it on radio, and the rest they say is history. And people call that the founding song for what Afrobeats is today. That was the very first song that Nigerians and West Africans embraced in unity across board without any, and that should give us the idea that, wait a minute, Nigerians really can like something other than Michael Jackson and Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. And should we continue with this? Should we do a second song? Should we do a second CD? Should we do an album for these guys? And in that, we came up with a record label. And so that goes back to tell you, sometimes in helping others, you're also helping yourself. Because in helping these three young boys, we ended up with a music label that did so well, put tremendous amount of food on our table, made stars out of them, and grew not just our careers, but grew our businesses. At the point, we ended up with almost 50 artists on the label, because after that, everybody wanted to be signed to us. So sometimes when you are at that point, you feel like, why am I doing this? Sometimes in just helping someone, you could be setting the foundation for what could be your own greatness or your next move up the ladder.
There's a lot of parallels. It's really fascinating because I grew up in the Seattle area, and I'm really good friends with a guy named Jonathan Poneman who launched Nirvana's career and started the whole grunge scene of Seattle. And it so reminds me, listening to your story and watching all this, it really reminds me also of his story with a lot of the bands, and that he still is, representing, he still runs Sub Pop Records and a lot of the big indie artists, and he's been really fascinated too, kind of watching what I've been doing the past year, and like some of the African artists that I've been really aggressively pushing on my friends. And most of my friends are not into Afrobeats. I go to a lot of Afrobeats parties here in Lisbon, and like my house became the Afrobeats house in the small town that I was living in, but it's still like there's still a big gap. There's a lot of people that I'm like the only one, and I have to go to parties by myself because my friends aren't into it yet.
Trust me, I know how you feel. Yeah, just like you said, the parallels are there. When we started this thing, like I said earlier, people thumbed their noses up like, "Oh, what is that? What are they playing? What is that? Oh, let's see. Why can't you play, Michael Jackson?" Right? But look at it today. You practically go to any party now, you rarely hear foreign music, especially in Nigeria, in any part of Africa. If it's not piano, it's Afrobeat. And so you could have spend 10 hours at the party and you won't hear one foreign song, you won't hear any Usher, you won't hear any rap. It would be, but back then, so it was a struggle to get people to listen to what we had to offer. So yes, it might be a lone road for you right now, but I bet you in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, when those boys start to pick up, they'll be looking for you. People are going to be calling you, oh, I know Erin. Yeah, she's my friend. She's my friend. Yeah, yeah, Erin is my friend. And that it happened. I mean, I have to tell you this short story. My father at the time, when I went into music, my father was adamant that no, I mean, I want you to become a doctor, a lawyer. What is this nonsense about music? You want to make a nonsense of your life? But I had this vision that he didn't see. Your vision is not their vision. Just like you have your vision now and you're working on it, which your friends don't see, your family members don't see, but it's your vision and it's up there and you've imagined it, you felt it, and you're receiving it now and you're in that process. And you just have to keep forging ahead. And that's why they say, show them your results. Don't, a lot of people, once you tell them what you're doing, they talk you out of it. So I've learned not to tell people what I'm doing. I show them my results. When they see the results, okay. So at a point, my father was very adamant, no, no, you're not going to do anything. So I stopped telling him. So one day I just said, okay, let's go for a ride. I took him to the radio station. I took him to where I was working. And when he saw the kind of respect I had, like everybody was milling around me, oh, D1, D, and people wanted to take pictures with me. People wanted my autograph. They were asking him, oh, are you D1's dad? Oh, nice to meet you, sir. So he started to change his mind, like, oh, wait a minute, this boy he's doing something here. And he saw celebrities that he looked up to, like King Sonny Ade, and them, and they had that much respect for me. So he started to change his mind, like, oh, okay, maybe this boy is onto something. He's doing what he wants to do. So let me support that. So this is just to encourage you, never lose your momentum, never lose your focus. The path less beaten is usually the right path, because if everybody was on your path, I mean, you'd be lost in the crowd. So you're doing something you love, you're doing something you're passionate about, and that's why it seems like you're the only one that's doing it. And that's why even the people you're doing it for are questioning, why are you doing it? But because the vision is yours and you know where you want to go with this, and basically you're not in it for the money. So I'm sure they see your quote unquote honesty about it, that you're just doing it for the drive. Of course, eventually, we hope and you pray that it will put food on the table.
I hope that I hope that
oh no, I mean,
let me be clear.
Of course it will, but it's important that those that are following you and those you're working with understand that it's not just for the money. Because I always tell people, if you go into something for the money, once the money doesn't come in the first week or month, you're going to quit. But if it's something you love doing, you keep doing it, even if the money doesn't show up. And you do it for as long as possible. You might find other ways to make money, but if it's something that you love doing, you keep doing it. And so that's just to encourage you and support you.
I appreciate that, because even today, I mean, finances have been tight since like I left my 25-year career and I immigrated to a new country. And even like most days I can kind of handle it, but even today it was like, no, can't handle it today. Not sure if I can handle this anymore. But then again, I listened to the music, and there's a great story that I've heard you tell, and for me it's so poignant because we don't always know the impact that we're going to have on people's lives. And some of the musicians, Kemina, Elenu, Quinn, Valdozi, that I'm featuring on this channel, their music has had real significant impact in my life in the past few months. And there's a great story that I've heard you talk about the blind man.
Yes, yes. It just goes to tell you the power of media. We we have to be very careful what we say and what we do, because there are a lot of people that we have influence over what we say, whether on radio, TV, podcast has impact on people's lives. Because people aspire to be like us, or they want us to motivate them to be the better, part of themselves. As a matter of fact, just 2 days ago, we lost another colleague, a younger colleague, uh, you know, visually impaired, blind person, but he was a sportscaster. Can you imagine a blind person from birth? But he's a sportscaster.
Yeah,
He
playing.
reports he
Yeah, that's
reports
fascinating.
especially soccer. But I mean, and he always gives credit that Kenny and D1, we gave him the encouragement, the inspiration to do radio broadcast because he's always loved sports as a young kid, even though he could never play because he couldn't see. But he paid attention to the details. He could listen to commentaries. He could, get them. So yes, the motivating part of what we do, like I said, when I walked into that reception that day, and the young man came up to me, and I've had other instances after that some older people that come up to me and say, "Look, um, I've never seen the face, but I know that voice." I mean, sometimes even here in America, I walk into some stores, and as soon as I speak, somebody turns around, usually a Nigerian or an African, and say, I knew that voice. I know that voice. I know." A lot of people that have not seen me, but they know that voice from radio. They can tell my voice. And I'm talking people who listened to me maybe 10, 15 years ago, they can still remember that voice. So it resonates and it makes me feel proud that, I've made a hopefully positive impact on people's lives, that they can remember, that voice, and they don't remember it for something bad. It gives them good vibes, because a lot of the ones I talk to always say, "Oh man, we remember. Oh, every evening we couldn't wait to watch your TV program with Kenny. You made us laugh. Oh, I used to go to bed sleeping and smiling, and you always brought smiles out when you did your program." So those things make me happy that I chose the right path. I chose to do the right thing. They say when you find your calling, you sleep better at night. I could have been a doctor or lawyer and be miserable, you know. Same thing with you. I mean, you left a 25-year career, not because you weren't making money, but you just felt a higher calling. You wanted to do something else. And I pray, that you won't have any regrets with it, because I've read some of your commentary. I've followed some of your sayings, and I know your mind is in the right place and you're doing something that you want to do. And that's what matters in life. Do what before it gets too late. So when you get to 70 and 80, you have no regrets. You don't go and start thinking, what if? Maybe I should have. So that's it for me. When I hear people come up to me and say, "Oh, I remember your voice when I listen to," and I pray, I see the same parallel with you. When those young boys that you are mentoring now and pushing now, when they get up on that stage at the MTV Awards in 5, 6 years time, or maybe 3 years time, and they say, "Oh, I want to thank my mentor, my manager, Aaron Skipper." You know, that's what it's all about. Having made a difference in somebody's lives somewhere. So keep doing what you're doing.
I'm like trying not to cry. It's so true. And a few years ago, around the time I was first starting to leave my career, I was working really closely with Avicii, who's a really well-known producer and DJ. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work, but he passed away really suddenly very soon after I met him, and his death had a huge impact on me. It was like in an instant, it can all be gone. It doesn't matter how old you are. He was 28, and like a lot of young
Wow.
artists who die, really suddenly and tragically young, you have so much ahead of you. And I'm not getting any younger, approaching 50, and it's time goes very fast,
Very fast.
very fast.
And nobody's promised tomorrow, so do it now. Do it now. So just keep doing what you're doing. As long as it brings you joy, it brings you happy. Look, let me tell you, Erin, some of my happiest days have been times when I'm broke. And I tell these people this sometimes, and they laugh, come on, D1, it's because you've had a good life. And I say, no. Some of the days I'm happiest is when I have very little in my bank account. Because that way I'm not worrying about, oh, should I buy a sports car? Or should I buy a next house? Or should I buy a Louis Vuitton bag? I'm not worried. I'm just thinking of, okay, if I can just get a hamburger to eat tonight and I can have some fufu tomorrow morning, I'm good. It clears my head for thinking of, okay, what do I need to do next week? What's my next business move? But when I have a couple of millions in my account, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should go to take a trip. Oh, should I go to the Bahamas? And it clouds your judgment.
Quality problems to have, but but I agree, I get it. And like I said, I worked in Hollywood for about 10 years, and I've worked closely with people who had a lot, and it does not bring happiness.
No, it
You
does
can be a
not.
multimillionaire
It
and
does
be
not.
living
It does
the
not.
dream and be so miserable and anxious. And I've seen
It
that
does
over
not.
and over and over again. And
I look,
it's expensive to be rich.
Erin, I have some billionaire friends, and I deliberately don't hang around them because they're some of the unhappiest people in life. Because they're always thinking of one problem after the other. They're really happy. So yeah, they say money doesn't buy happiness. It's true. It's good to have. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to have money. It gives you freedom. But most of my billionaire friends, they're unhappy. They're unhappy. So I deliberately I avoid them most of the time. I do things that make me happy.
It's really important to be realistic that money and fame is not going to bring happiness for sure. And it's quite stressful to suddenly have a lot of that and not know how to manage and deal with it. That's just that side of it. But then I've also had artists recently approach me to manage them that clearly have substance abuse issues. Having grown up in Seattle and like being a teenager in the 80s and 90s in Seattle, I've been around a lot and I've done a lot, and I've lost a lot of friends to it. I've lost a lot of friends to opioid addictions, and I know there's a big coding issue in Nigeria specifically. There's a big coding
Yeah,
dependency.
yeah.
And for artists that you've worked with over the years, when you see these destructive tendencies happening, how do you deal with it and try and steer people away from it? And I know ultimately, because I've dealt with a lot of addiction myself, ultimately, like you can't really do anything for anyone. They have to want to change.
No, it's a good one, Erin. It goes back to, look, knowing what you want in life. The first thing we indirectly ask most of our artists before we even sign them, why do you want to sing? Why do you want to rap? Why do you want to be a musician? Why do you want us to sign you? Why do you want to be famous? Why do you want to be popular? Why? Why? And then you can get an idea. Because look, the fame doesn't necessarily bring happiness. And that's what usually leads into the drugs and the buying of the cars and the bling bling jewelry. But it's never enough as long as you're unhappy. And so you find that, they smoke more, they buy more jewelry, they buy more cars. But so what we teach, once we get an idea that, oh, this person is going after it for the wrong reasons, a lot of talented people, they want to blow, like we say, they want to get known because, oh, the video is big and he's buying cars, I want to buy cars. Whiskey, he gets a lot of women and I want to be like that. So you kind of have to find, carve your way around that because some are just in it for the wrong reasons. They want to acquire money, and some of those we avoid. I'll give you a good example. Two-Face is one of a good example because Two-Face, he sings and projects from a place of love. His lyrics are about love, about unity, about things that humanity can learn or benefit from. Once in a while, he will go political and sing about, the oppressed masses, which is good, but
Mhm.
it's also from a place of love. We had another artist from the Remedies, Eedris Abdulkareem, who sang about Nigeria, Jaga Jaga, Nigeria is bad, Nigeria, and people went in uproar. Why can you sing Nigeria is bad? But he sang it from a place of love because look, he was not happy with the way the country was, and it's the same thing Fela has been doing his entire life. So it's important to know where your potential artist is coming from or where they're going. That way you can mold them and you can know whether it's somebody you can work with. I never smoked. I don't do drugs. I hardly drink. So it behoves me to now find an artist that does all those things. We would never be able to get along and work together. Not to say that, you know, I can't work with, I pride myself in being able to work with anybody, but you don't want to set obstacles for yourself that's going to make you age faster than than nature intended. So, but for the artists that we had, yes, we had a good team to manage them. We always, you know, guide them. Oh, no, look, you can't go to that club. It's not good for your image. We had a department that work with our artists on how to, you know, dress properly, comport themselves in public, what to say in public, what to do or what not to do, the kind of people you could be seen with in public. Because we also felt it's our responsibility. Because some of these kids, they haven't seen life. You know, some of them have been shielded either by family or from their village, or they come out and now they're exposed to the world. They're superstars. They've gone from not having a bicycle to having a Range Rover, and they have tons of money, and they are exposed to all the bad influences. So you kind of have a role to play in making sure that they don't ruin their lives. So we try to manage them, and I think we did an effective job in helping guide them. And most of them are well okay today. And I don't think we lost any one of our artists to drugs or to anything. Maybe a couple to just being wayward. You know, musicians tend to be, I mean, in their creative process, they tend to, you know, do things that are abstract or just something, you know. But I think also the energy that we put out, I lead by example, I always say, you know, before I say follow me, I will do the same thing. I don't ask you to do something that I wouldn't do for myself. So if I say you shouldn't be seen in that place, I wouldn't go there. If I say, oh, those kind of people you shouldn't be seen with, then definitely you're not going to see me in that kind of setting, no matter what kind of money they are offering. So I think that's very important as well to lead by example.
It's true. I mean, that's the best, you know, inspiration and guidance you can give somebody, is just to live your best life yourself and be an inspiration that way. For you personally, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, how do you stay fit?
I try to stay positive no matter what's going on around my environment. One of the things that make you age faster is worrying. I try not to worry about the things that I can't control. Just let it go. Let the universe do its thing. That being said, I try to eat right. Lots of exercise. I just came in from my exercise now before we started this interview. Lots and lots of exercise. Because when people see me, they're this thing in Africa, they say, oh, you don't want to grow old. I said, no, I want to grow old. I want to grow very old, but I don't want to look it. I don't want to be 60 and be looking like I'm 80. So yes, I do want to grow. So I eat right. I try to do lots of exercises, get enough sleep, and generally just be good. When you are good to your neighbor, you're good to your community, you sleep well at night. And I keep it in focus. Yes, I want the good things in life. I want the best in life, but I keep it realistic. I won't do things that are unscrupulous or things that will keep me up at night just because I want to buy a Lamborghini. You know, what is the essence of having a Lamborghini that's parked outside your house 12 hours a day when there are, you know, starving kids in your village, people that are unable to feed on your street? And so I'd rather put a smile on 20 people's faces than have a car parked under the sun that's not doing me any, you know. And so I find that that gives me more joy, that gives me more happiness, and I sleep better at night.
That's really beautiful. Sleep is so important. And the worry, it really ages us quickly. Fear and worry. And so that's a really solid piece of advice. And, you know, it's not always easy, I think. I think especially for a lot of artists, you know, we're sensitive people.
Very, very,
and
very, very.
And we
Very, very.
worry, and actually the artists that I've been working with, they're really strong in their identity and not caring so much what people think. So in many ways, they've been helping me so much more than I've helped them so far.
That's
But
good.
it's a really nice reciprocal friendship and relationships. I think to be an artist and to put yourself out there in the public, that is something you can't let other people's judgments and even expectations or opinions of you really get to you. But it's,
Yeah.
yeah. I have just a couple other kind of fun questions. One, well, you mentioned Eedris Abdulkareem, and I had just been listening to a little bit of the Remedies, and he is quite distinctive and I think would be hard to replicate. But are there any artists from the early, primetime days that you would love to see, like either a new artist do a cover or
We have one, Paul play Dairo. His father was a big musician, kind of like King Sunny Ade, but died early. So he did a remake of one of his father's classics called Moshorire, and that was one of our biggest songs. But Paul has gone quiet over the last 10, 15 years. He had some health issues. So, but he was a damn good producer and songwriter. So yeah, I would like to have one of these young ones, Gen Z artists, kind of pick up from where he left off.
what was his name?
Paul played Dairo, Dairo. He had some tremendous hits. And that song was called Moshoriwe, which means, when I wake up in the morning, I pray to God for guidance and God light my way, light my path, my destiny, carry me to my destiny. And it was a really big hit. And so I would like some of these new artists to, because songs in those days were about things that society could appreciate. But nowadays, these young ones, they just sing about all kinds of crap. So it's mostly the beats that we're listening to, the content of the songs. Uh, I really couldn't vouch for as much as. But hey,
I want to well, I'm so curious. I hope you do listen to Quinn and Elenu specifically. There's a couple songs by one of the artists, Elenu, that every time I listen to it, I'm just like, this
could you
song
could you send
is
me some links? Could you send me some
I
links?
will. I
Please,
will.
please.
Elenu's song "Low" to me is just like, it's a perfect song, and it just hits me on every level of of having gone through trauma and grief, and it's just some beautiful stuff. But are there any artists that, because I've seen you and Kenny, like there were some shows with WizKid like 10, like almost 15 years ago, and Tiwa Savage and other artists. Are there any artists right now that you think that we should know about?
Oh, wow. I like Thames. I think Thames is doing well. Ira Star is also doing well. But there's some hidden gems like Ladipo. I think Ladipo is still yet to reach his potential. I don't think he's getting enough push. Mm, there's so many of them. They're just,
So many,
I mean,
so
there's so
many.
many. It's such a crowded scene these days. There's two Omale. I mean, the talented Spyro. I like Spyro's
We
vibe.
love Spyro, yeah, yeah.
I like that positive energy when you sing things that are joyful and uplifting, and so you come up with a song that is a hit both on radio and even in church, a song that people can sing in church. I mean,
I've been
that's
listening
the
to
way,
him a lot lately too. Yeah.
that's the way to go for me. It's not just about jumping on the bandwagon, but something that can uplift humanity. Believe you me, people will find a way to support you. A lot of what Spyro is enjoying now, it's goodwill. I mean, some rich people will just send him money, you know? So a lot of the money he's making is not even from his record. It's from
Well,
people
I don't
just,
know. Did you see when Davido a couple years ago on his birthday, kind of as a joke, put out like a send me money thing, and people sent him so much money.
but you
The
see,
struggling artist Davido, have you heard of him?
you see, that's part of the law of the universe. He asked for it and the universe delivered. It's the law of attraction. But before you can attract that, he has also sowed some seeds. He has helped a lot of people. I mean, he has helped a lot of people that he never talked about, a lot of artists that he did free collabos with, that he sent money for studio sessions. There was one billionaire that sent him money. DJ Copy's dad, Femi Otedola, when Copy was struggling, she returned from the UK and she was a struggling DJ Copy. And Davido took up in his ring and did a collabo with her and promoted her. So when he did that, her father was one of the first people to send money. You get back what you put out. Sometimes we do things when we help others, like we said earlier. Sometimes you're also helping yourself. You might not get the results now. And really, he said he was just joking. But a lot of the money that was sent to him was sent by poor people that just felt inspired, that felt like, look, your music has made me happy.
It's
Look, here's
gratitude.
here's a dollar, here's $10. That's what made up a lot of that money. It wasn't even money from the rich people. It was from the poor people that felt like, look, your music has put me in a place of happiness and joy. Look, here's $5, here's $1, just for me to appreciate you. And I'm happy that he got his flowers. Africans would say he got his flowers, and people gave him that love back, and it encourages him to even do more.
You mentioned Ira Star and Thames, and I saw when Ira Star won the Female Artist of the Year, the Headies, this past year. She was talking about how the awards ceremony got cut off and she didn't get to receive her award on stage. Do you feel like there's a lot of obstacles still for female artists? There's so much talent. There's just absolutely incredible talent, but do you feel like it's still a little bit of an uphill battle for them?
It is. It is. I think a lot has to do with our culture. A lot of our culture still places women in the home. Men are supposed to be the breadwinners, and women are supposed to, help the breadwinner. So when you say, you want to go for a career, whether it's in music or society still looks at it like, oh, so how are you going to get a man? How are you going to keep a husband if you are going around the world performing or you're a superstar? Which man is going to marry you? So I think a lot of it has to do with societal issues. So if you're female and you say, oh, I want to sing, the first thing your parents are going to say, oh, so what about kids? Aren't you going to marry? Aren't you going to have kids? Oh, well, when are you going to have time for your children? So that keeps the amount or the number of women willing to go into entertainment keeps it low because the support is not there, either from the family or from society or from the people that normally would want to help them get to the next level. And then also, I mean, it's there. We have to say, most times when a woman wants something, usually there's a man in place that must approve. And usually those men want something in return.
Sure, sure.
And
Yeah, I
that
mean,
keeps,
this has been a little bit of a culture shock for me with a lot of my friends from Central, West, and East Africa. It's a big different
yeah,
culture for
it's,
me, for sure.
it's a different way of thinking for us. So we still put those values on women that, the woman is in the home, the woman supports the husband, the woman. So it makes it more difficult for women to get into the business and to thrive. Be that as it may, the opportunities are there. It's just if you want it, you go for it. I mean, Nigerians have shown that open-mindedness. If you have what they want, you have something to offer them, they will open up and they will embrace you. I mean, there's Tenny, there's Thames, but yes, you're right. We need more women in entertainment. We need more women in music. And the opportunities are there. We just need to encourage them and give them more of a push.
By the time I post this, I'll have already featured my first chapter of the Rising Tide of Afrobeats with up and coming artists. And Quindi Siren is a really phenomenal one who has a song out right now called Rise. It's part of her Black Sheep EP, but it's just like such a power anthem and really empowering to everybody, women and men. It's a really good one, and I hope to see her rise herself. But
I pray she does. I pray she does. Yeah. What you can do also, send us some of their music, and if they have any videos, you can also send so we can also help push on our platforms, and we can also send to our colleagues on the radio networks and the TV networks, and see how we can get them some mileage on some of our platforms.
I would love that. And I know they would absolutely love that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, very
And
much.
where are they based? Where are they based right now?
Lagos.
They're in Lagos.
They're all in
Oh,
Lagos except for Valdozi and Elenu are in Enugu, in Nsukka.
oh, okay.
They all
Good,
kind of
good.
have a connection to Enugu. They all went to school in Nsukka.
Oh, okay. Well, no problem. Once I get back to Lagos, once I get back to Nigeria, we can arrange for the ones in Lagos, we can arrange for maybe some radio interviews for them and help
That'd be
them
phenomenal.
push their, yeah, that's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Thank you so much, Dayo.
You're
This has
welcome.
meant the world to me. I've been just so looking forward to this and really overcome with gratitude and emotion, even the last like 24 hours. This means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And thank you for what you're doing for Afrobeats. Like we say, the more the merrier. It gives me a lot of pride that, someone from a different culture is embracing, this movement and helping take it to the next level.